Hello, this is Alicia Connor from Quick and Delish. I'm wishing you and yours well during this shelter in place. I wanted to talk a little bit about eggs and how I love to use eggs. And usually, like before sheltering in place, I usually buy 2 dozen eggs because I don't, then I'm good for eggs for a couple weeks because eggs stay good. I always check the expiration date for sure because sometimes stores don't use up their inventory properly or they don't have it stored properly or they're just not selling out of stuff as quickly. And I have a neighborhood, small neighborhood grocery store in my neighborhood. I just repeated myself. Um, that they're just like their expiration dates are always like, well, this isn't 3 days. Come on, people. And so then you're training customers to like forage in the back. And so that's just not helpful because that messes with your inventory. So I always look at expiration dates. So I get like 2 or 3 weeks out. And I always get large eggs. And the white versus the brown eggs is just the chicken, the uh species, the the chicken, whether or not it's like I'm having a blank, like a red rooster or the type of chicken, um, what kind of shell they make. So it has nothing to do with like a white one's better than brown. When I was growing up, there was this commercial that said, brown eggs are local legs and local legs are fresh. And I'm sure many of you have heard that before, but that was the marketing ploy. And so many people are just trained to think that brown eggs are better because they're fresher, but they're not. There's also these really cool chickens, and the eggs that they make are blue shelled, light blue shelled, like baby blue. And they're Arcana, and they're a pretty looking chicken. They have like black and like amber brown, reddish brown feathers. They make really cool shelled eggs. Those are like pasture raised eggs, or people that have it, chickens at home or farms have those kinds of chickens. Anyway, and farmers markets might have those kinds of eggs. So look for Arcanas. Those are pale blue shelled eggs. So those are fun. So I hard boiled eggs because those are super easy. I just there's a million different ways to hard boiled eggs. You could do them in the instant pot, you could do them on the stove, and there's a bunch of different methods on the stove top. But the method I like to use is from boiling water. I use a spoon to put the egg into the water with a little bit of salt. I find it's a little bit easier to peel them with a little bit of salt. And then fresher eggs are always better. And I use a spoon to put them in because I notice if I don't put the spoon and gently place them in the boiling water, and like just enough boiling water to cover the egg, like that much boiling water. If I just drop them in because I'm a monster, like trying to boil eggs as quickly as possible, um, then I'm at high risk for the eggs cracking, and that is annoying. And I'm more likely to have to eat that egg that breaks. I mean, it's not really a big deal, but if I use a spoon and gently place them in there, they don't crack, which is amazing. And so then I put the timer on for 10 minutes once I put all the eggs in, and I usually do like 6, 8 to 10. And then I put a timer on for 10 minutes. At the 10 minutes, I turn down the water from boiling. 10 minutes passes, and then I quickly get rid of the hot water, run the eggs under cold water, put the eggs in a bowl with cold water in the fridge. And sometimes I'll go ahead and crack them all so they cool faster. Um, like against the bowl that I just put them in, I'll just like crack them because then they'll cool faster, and then they're more likely to be more orange and not yellow. I like my yolks orange, but cook through, but not ready for hard boiled eggs. So that's my method. So 10 minutes in boiling water, and then rapidly cool them. And then I tend to crack them because I prefer to just crack them and peel them as soon as possible if I can, because I don't like peeling eggs right before I'm going to eat them. typically, but I break my own rules because I don't really have like, I'm flexible. I do what I want. Okay, so other ideas to do with eggs, to make eggs, are you could poach eggs, and that's pretty fun. And then uh vinegar, no vinegar, it doesn't really matter to me. I've never noticed a huge benefit from using vinegar, and there's a bunch of different methods of poaching eggs in water. And then you can have asparagus or polenta or some oatmeal, or even with some veggies, or some toast or whatever, some potatoes, regular potatoes, sweet potatoes, maybe some white beans and kale or something like that, with your poached eggs, maybe some avocado, salsa, call it a day. Yum. Huevos rancheros. Oh my gosh. Huevos rancheros is like the perfect breakfast, lunch, or dinner, right? So it's a full meal, and you may not need the tortillas or the chips, right? Because you already have carbohydrates in the black beans. The black beans provide the carbohydrate, which gives you energy and fiber. You're done. All you need is eggs, salsa, um, black beans, avocado, cilantro, maybe some more vegetables, some bell pepper, um, eggplant. I have this jar of red bell pepper I've shown a couple times in a couple videos. I'm going to use it at some point. I'm just kind of seeing if I can use it for a cooking video, unless I can buy some more. Um, Huevos rancheros, right? So you could do poached eggs in a tomato sauce. You could do poached eggs with the huevos ranchero stuff, with the beans and everything. You could do baked eggs, scrambled eggs. I do scrambled eggs a lot with peas, frozen peas. I warm up the peas in the pan, in a nonstick pan. I recently purchased a new nonstick pan because it was on sale, because there's all these sales, which it's a good opportunity to take advantage of sales if you can. So I got a green pan. The green pan is super awesome. It's super slippery. It recommends, it tells the purchaser, it strongly recommends not using any spray oil on it. It's very slippery, like food slips around in there really easily. So far, I really like it. I gotta double check to see if I can put it in the oven, because that's one of my favorite things to do, is like start something on the top of the stove and then you finish it in the oven. One of my favorite things to do. Okay, so you could hard boiled eggs or soft boiled eggs. You can scrambled eggs with peas. So the peas would be kind of like a toast, right? Because that's the carbohydrate with fiber. And then you add some veggies, whatever you have. And then scrambled eggs with it, whatever you got. Sometimes I'll scramble eggs on their own, and then sometimes I'll add veggies in there depending on what's going on. I tend to prefer to chop up leafy greens beforehand, like, so say spinach. Like, it's kind of annoying when you have like these big long strands of spinach and they like slap you in the face or something like that when you're eating it. It's kind of like pasta or something like that. It's kind of messy. So I like to chop up the spinach or just tear it with my hands, because you don't necessarily have to pull out a cutting board if you don't want to have if you don't have one out yet. You can just tear the spinach. You can tear the kale. It doesn't matter. You can tear the Swiss chard. You don't have to use a knife for some of this stuff. And even if you have a cutting board, it's kind of nice for your hands to do different types of projects, instead of just relying on using the knife. Using the knife, because we have to be careful and not overuse certain parts of our bodies, because we have, you know, only two um hands and arms, and so they can get overused really easily. Okay, so I want to point out, I wanted to summarize a couple more ideas to do, to use eggs. So we went over poached eggs. So poached eggs can also be done in soups. So you can make an awesomely delicious uh kale and white bean soup, or just kale and white bean soup, right? Really good chicken broth, onions, garlic, chili, kale, chicken stock, and then you poach an egg in there. You can skim out the kale, put that in a bowl, and then the serving bowl, and then poach an egg in there. And then if you had some white beans in there, that would be good for the carbohydrate and fiber, or some barley or farro or quinoa or whatever you have around. maybe some lentils, or that's when you have like I have these whole grain crackers from Trader Joe's. They're crisp breads, excuse me. Some crackers are now preferring to be called crisp breads. Um, so these are the gluten-free crisp breads. I really like these. I haven't had they have other ones that are not gluten-free. These are the only ones I've had. Sometimes when I find something I like the taste of, I actually consciously choose not to try the other thing because I'm attached to the other thing. I also am aware that it's not cool to be attached to things because if you can't get to that grocery store, then you might think that that's a bummer. So you got to be flexible. But these crackers are really good. And one of the reasons why I like these specific kind of crackers is you get a certain number of crackers. Maybe there's like 8 in here or something like that. They're like super seedy crackers and they're flavorful. I really like them. So I have one cracker and maybe like 1 or 2 hard boiled eggs and then some veggies, maybe some avocado, bell pepper, cucumber slices. That's something I always do. So you have one cracker, and so it's easy to portion control these crackers because if you have those like a box of crackers, like the smaller crackers, oh my goodness, it's really hard to stop because crackers are just too delicious. There's crackers are savory cookies. That's what crackers are. That's what I think. That's my say. If you ask me, crackers are savory cookies. And so they go down really easily. And so you can all of a sudden go into like the chip mode, right? And then, like, basically, aliens abducted you, and temporarily you can't stop eating the crackers. Has that ever happened to you? I'm speaking from experience. I'm not just speaking from my experience working with patients and clients telling me about their issues with crackers. I'm telling you, like, I've eaten too many crackers. I know what it feels like when you look down and all of a sudden you come back to planet Earth after the aliens brought you back. And then you're like, oh my goodness, I just ate so many crackers. Or the same goes with cookies because cookies are jerks like that because they're like, they know they're really good. Cookies are totally jerks. If you don't agree with me, then we'll just that'll be like a conversation we just don't talk about. Sometimes we have conversations we just don't talk about. Okay. Okay, this is a can of tomatoes, puree tomatoes. I love crushed or pureed tomatoes because they can help you make a sauce really easily because they're not whole tomatoes. I used to prefer whole tomatoes because they were like more whole and like less processed. But like I can make something much more quickly if it's already in a puree form. So I've made like so you can make oh, how about shashuka? The North African egg dish, right? So tomato sauce, spicy tomato sauce with I would add roasted pepper because I like that richness, I guess, that body and richness that red pepper and sweetness that red pepper would add to that dish. Um, with some feta and maybe some basil and parsley and yeah. And so the shashuka, right? So that's a tomato sauce with pepper, maybe some kind of peppers, and then you poach the eggs in that sauce and so that's an easy dish to make. It actually takes a decent amount of time to cook the eggs because the eggs have to heat up around the sauce, whatever. But it's a delicious dish and it's super easy to make. Like you can have your once we can actually hang out with people, and some of you guys have families and stuff, so you're hanging out with people anyway. Um, um, but you can have some people over for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and then make this super simple egg dish, right? And then people totally want to come over again. That's way to keep your friends, basically. Okay, one of the snacks that I really like is a Trader Joe's crisp bread, and then like 1 or 2 hard-boiled eggs, depending on like is it a little snack that I need? Do I just need something to get to the next thing? Like, say if I'm going to eat, going out to eat for dinner or something like that. Like when we can go out to eat in the dinner, go out. Anywho, go out to eat somewhere. I'll have a small snack. So that could be like one of these crisp breads with 1 hard-boiled egg. And then this is my favorite tapenade, which is a Kalamata olive spread. It's by Divina. Yeah. So Divina Kalamata spread. It's my favorite Kalamata spread. So not all tapenade olive spreads are the same. Just like canned tomatoes, just like roasted bell pepper. Roasted bell pepper is actually one of the more consistent products out there. I've had awesome canned roasted red peppers, and I've had jarred red peppers, and then they're pretty much consistent. So that's pretty awesome. But tapenade and canned tomatoes are not consistent products across a bunch of brands. So check out that tapenade. So I'll just add a little bit of tapenade to the hard boiled egg on the like I'll just like cut it into 4 pieces, put it on the cracker, and then put the tapenade on there. And then add some pepper because you don't need salt because the tapenade is salt basically. And then sometimes maybe I'll have like the sliced cucumber or some other veggies I have in the fridge. Okay, cool. So that's a little bit about eggs, and they're so versatile. And you can make a super fast meal. That's one of the reasons why I always have 2 dozen eggs. I have 3 dozen eggs in my refrigerator right now, and it makes me feel good to have a consistent protein source. Um, Okay, cool. And then there was something else I was going to mention: tomatoes, I don't know, eggs, and oh, down there my cooking videos. Check out the egg frittata recipe. I'm a huge fan of egg frittata. That's one of the reasons why I always have to have a nonstick pan. I have made them in iron pans, and I do have a bunch of iron pans, but they come out of the nonstick pan much easier, and I don't have to add as much fat. I know the fat actually stays in the pan somewhat, but I mean, I like both. I mix around with both because I like to use different pans and stuff. And there's weight bearing exercise when you use iron pans because they're so heavy. That's why it's so awesome when people do more cooking because then you're doing more lifting and moving around. So the lesser the quality of your pans, the lighter the pans, and then you're not doing as much weight bearing exercise. So looking for the bonuses, people, right? If you're doing more lifting, you're going grocery shopping, you're doing the lifting, right? You're also doing the cooking, which is a physical process, and it might help with stress reduction. And I know like some of you might not like cooking. If you're watching this, maybe you're more likely to like cooking because you either know me somehow or you like cooking. So you're probably not here if you totally absolutely don't like cooking. But there are people, maybe there's somebody that doesn't like cooking watching. Um, so the thing is, like, everybody has to do these tasks. Like, you have to eat, right? And everybody has to eat. And so if you become in control of the food that you eat, um, then that is super empowering. So if you rely on others to forage your food for you and you always eat out, then that is giving out your control. It's harder to have control. And it seems like you're in control when you're making decisions to eat out more often because that's what you want, right? To eat because it's easier and you don't want to cook, but it's actually giving away some of your control of your health. So that's my 2 cents. All right, so eggs are awesome, and doing a combination of egg whites and whole eggs. And if anybody ever has questions or wants to work on reducing your cholesterol, it's not the eggs themselves that are the problem. It's your total consumption of saturated fat that could be contributing to your elevated LDL cholesterol. And there's other components as well. And so, like, if you just eliminate the eggs, that might not do it. And eggs are good quality protein. And it's just taking a step back and looking at the big picture of your total intake of saturated fat is much better than isolating just looking at beef and eggs because that's mostly where people focus on. But you got to remember there's also cheese. And then coconut oil is a contributor. And so, like, once you look at your whole diet and you see, like, oh, maybe I should eat a couple of vegetarian meals a week, and then you're consistent with that, that could also help. So that's a little bit about the whole cholesterol saturated fat situation. So like Don't be an egg hater. They're good quality protein and they're super quick to cook and super versatile. Okay, that's it for me signing out, and let's keep it light. We need to keep this spirit light as we shelter in place, and to be continued. The little things, the little things. I'm trying to be like Mary Poppins. The little things in life make it all right.